Good morning. My name is Nancy McDowell. I'm honored to be your board's vice president, and it's my pleasure to welcome you this morning. Visitors, if we have any this morning, you are so welcomed, and please join us for coffee across the hall in the fireside room. Hello to those of you who are joining us online. You're an important part of our community, and glad you could join us. Let me introduce the worship team this morning. Reverend John Morehouse, our senior minister. I guess there will be more on that later. Dawn Star Saris Borchelt, Director of Lifespan Faith Development. Steve, you need something. Steve Witt is our worship associate. He's going to keep things tame today, I guess. And music by the MLUC Choir, led by David Brown and accompanied by Jody Brown. Today's a special day. Why? Because we're all here together, friends, family, visitors. This community today is sacred because, as Unitarian Universalists, we together hold all of us in shared love. Today is a special day because you are here. One quick announcement, save the date, November 9th. It's our church's annual auction, our biggest fundraising event, and lots of community fun. For more information about making donations, getting a bidder number, visit the auction table at the atrium or look in the newsletter. There'll be lots more information to come. And now, please silence your electronic devices as we say together our mission statement. Together, we transform lives through love, service, and our welcoming faith.
When Okay, thank you, David. That was great. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the song you see in the order of service. I'm glad they got it in there. But I just wanted to give you a little trivia before we get started. Back in 1971, when Carole King wrote the lyrics and recorded the song for her Tapestry album, she also gave permission to a fellow artist, James Taylor, to record his own version of the song. Of course, the very next year, he won a Grammy for his version, but Carole King also won a Grammy for Best Song of the Year, so thus cementing their lifelong friendship. And also, if you happen to listen to the song, either version of the song, very carefully, you'll hear the lilting soprano voice of a young Joni Mitchell singing backup vocals. She probably should have gotten a Grammy too, but here we go. When you're down and when you're troubled and you need some loving care and nothing, I mean nothing is going right, close your eyes and think of me, and soon I'll be there to brighten up even your darkest night. So you just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running, oh yeah, to see you again. It doesn't matter if it's winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you've got to do is call, and I'll be there. Yes, I will. You've got a friend.
We now invite you to rise in body or spirit as we sing together hymn number 179, Words That We Hold Tight. And I'd like to teach you the refrain. I will sing the verse at the drum, and we'll go back and forth a little bit. Show us, O Spirit, how to befriend. Show us, O Spirit, how to befriend. Let's do that same thing one more time. Show us, O Spirit, how to befriend. Show us how to forgive. Show us how to forgive to all who live. To all who live. Show us forgiveness that we may live. Show us forgiveness that we may live. Let's do the whole thing once. Starting here, show us, O Spirit, how to befriend. Show us how to forgive to all who live. Show us forgiveness that we may live. Words that we hold tight won't let us go. Paths we don't follow will haunt us so. What will undo us is not our friend. Show us, O Spirit, how to befriend. Show us how to forgive to all who live. Show us forgiveness that we may live. To speak of loving is not to love. Lies move among us below above. When we are raging, needing to mend, show us, O Spirit, how to befriend. Show us how to forgive to all who live. Show us forgiveness that we may live. When love is doubtful, choice is not clear, we turn to worship, to cast out fear. Teach us forgiveness, make love our end. Show us, O Spirit, how to be friends. Show us how to forgive to all who live. Show us forgiveness that we may live.
I don't trust it at all.
Gerald, look. I've been invited to a party.
Cool.
It is cool. Will you go with me? I've never been to a party.
I'll go with you. I know parties.
Party.
Wait. What if it's a fancy party? We must be ready.
Really?
I know parties.
He knows parties.
Okay, fancy stuff.
Fancy stuff.
It's actually a lot more secure this way. Okay.
A fancy party.
Is this fancy?
Wait. Is this fancy?
Very, very fancy. Party.
Party.
Wait. What if it's a pool party?
A fancy pool party?
We must be ready. I know parties.
He knows parties.
Let's get our pool stuff.
Cool stuff. Mine needs air. How's this?
We will make a splash, and we can blow it up later. It's fine.
Okay.
Party!
Party!
Wait! What if it's a costume party?
You mean a fancy costume pool party?
We must be ready!
We must be ready.
Let's get our costume stuff.
Oh, he better know parties. Let's go. Now, can we go to the party?
Yes. Now we are ready.
Well, that is a surprise. You do know parties. There we are.
Party!
Party!
Party! I would like children and youth to be invited to go to their classes now. I will say youth are going up to their room on the 3rd floor. If you are in 6th or 7th grade, you are going to your classroom on the 2nd floor. And if you are younger than that, if you are in 5th grade or below, you're meeting me in the hallway. I will take off some of the stuff.
Each month, we donate half of our weekly collection to a worthy organization in need. All this month, our offering outreach partner is Book Smiles, a nonprofit dedicated to fostering a love of reading among children living in under-resourced communities. Since its inception, Book Smiles has promoted literacy and the joy of reading by giving more than 1.5 million books to Philadelphia and New Jersey children who need them most. Book Smiles collects 80,000 books every month from different sources around the community. Once books reach Book Smiles' Pennsauken warehouse, they are sorted by hundreds of volunteers who ensure they're in good condition. In the mounds of donations, volunteers have often found valuable items which they resell to bolster their annual budget. If you'd like to make a donation online, follow the instructions that you see on the screen behind me. If you are in the sanctuary, you can also make a cashless donation using the QR code. The offering will now be gratefully received.
I couldn't resist the pearls, so you're just going to have to get used to it. The affirmation of gratitude, which we say each week, dedicates the offering that we bring to this altar of our community and to our free faith, and I invite you to join with me as we recite it now. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for all those who share their gifts, for we are enriched by their giving. And let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we may learn from the generosity of others.
Okay. Candles of Community is our custom to share our personal joys, sorrows, expecting to be heard, accepted, and supported. Candles of Community is our ritual for personal sharing. After each candle is lit, please join me in saying, "We hold you in our hearts." Barbara Elliott writes, for the son of a couple we hold dear, the young teen suffers from hydrocephalus and has had 4 surgeries this year, with the most recent involving a 20-day hospitalization. Also, please hold the mother and father in your thoughts as they cope with their son's chronic problem. For Barbara, mother and father of the teenager, we hold you in our hearts. Mike Piccioni, I got that right, Piccioni shares the sorrow for the loss of his sister, June Schaefer, who lost a long battle with cancer on Wednesday. For June, her daughter Allie, her grandson Mason, and their entire family, we hold you in our heart. Carrie Reif and Nini Ingersoll also write that they would like us to light a candle of concern with prayers, hope, and courage for a very sweet and gentle person who has just been diagnosed with metastatic cancer. For Carrie, Nini, and their dear friend, we hold you in our heart. Please keep Dana Kelly in your thoughts also today, since she will be having gallbladder surgery tomorrow at Paoli Hospital. For Dana and her family, we hold you in our hearts. I'd like to light a candle of joy for my mother, who celebrated her 92nd birthday yesterday with family and friends. For my mother and family, we hold you in our hearts. And for all those joys and concerns too deep for words, we light one more candle.
I invite you to join with me in a spirit of meditation, to close your eyes if that's comfortable, and put your feet on the floor. And as much as you're able to sit back in your chair, and then let's breathe in deeply together. We breathe out. We breathe in. We breathe out. Holy Spirit of love that is in us and among us all here in this room and in our online community, we ask for your strength in these times of trial and struggle. That the breath that comes in and out of our bodies be a reminder that love is stronger than hate, that hope is stronger than despair, that being together is stronger than being apart. For all these struggles and for the joys that accompany us and add brilliance to our days, we are mindful that we are a community drawn together by love and held by the strength of that love. In this breath, in this quick moment of silence, we ask that love not let us go. Amen. And I thank the choir. It's beautiful having you up here so close. I love this. This is great. And thank you to everyone who came today, to all the volunteers who make this Sunday and every Sunday happen. Thank you. And for all of you who rose from bed, warm and comfortable, and came here, thank you. And our online folks, thanks for tuning in. It's great having you. I begin with a story. In the story, Tico and the Golden Wings, Tico, the bird, is given a certain strength, but it comes in a long and slow process. It's from the famed author Leo Lanelli, and he says that Tico was originally born without wings. And as is true for so many who are different, Tico was considered an outsider, only worthy of pity. The flock, seeing that Tico can't fly, brings Tico food, but she wishes more than anything else to have wings. And one night, a golden bird flies into her nest and says, "I will give you wings of gold." And suddenly, wings of gold appeared on her back, and she took flight and soared above the trees and the land and the rivers like ribbons and forests like a green carpet. When she landed near her flock, so proud was she of her wings that her flock looked at her and said, "Nice wings, but they make you too proud. You are not like us." And they flew away. And Tico was crestfallen, crushed. How could this be? I have wings. Surprised, she flew away to see what she could do, and as she was flying, she saw a farmer crying in the field. And she came down and said, "Why are you crying?" Well, the farmer, surprised to hear a talking bird, said, "My child is ill and I cannot afford the medicine." And so Tico pulled off one of the wings, the golden wings, and gave it to the farmer. The farmer was so happy, but then said, "But now you have one less feather. How will you fly?" "Well," she said, "I managed, but I didn't have wings before. I'll make do." And suddenly a real shiny black wing appears where the golden one had been. She flew on, and finding all these other people who needed help, a fisherwoman who needed a compass, a family that was hungry for food, a horse for an older couple. Eventually, she gave all of her golden feathers away, and in each place a new black feather appeared. She was now just like all the other birds, and she flew back to the flock. They accepted her now because she was the same, but of course she wasn't the same. She was different. The story, of course, has many dimensions of meaning, as all good stories should. Being without the wings, of course, without the wings, she could not fly and she was pitied. But then when she got golden wings, they were jealous. And even in our most beloved communities, friends, we know that they can let us down, right? That we can be seen as outsiders. Tico found a way to belong even to a community, even though she had not the same thing as they did. Her restoration came with a lesson. Sometimes we have to find ourselves on the outside by looking inside first. Up until recently, most evolutionary biologists and anthropologists believed, following what they perceived to be Darwin's understanding of evolution, that only the fittest survive. Only the fittest, through competition and strength, are able to survive in any evolutionary scheme. It's an unfortunate interpretation because it's not quite complete. And it's been used as an excuse for systemic racism, for sexism, patriarchy, and eugenics for hundreds of years. Now, I'm not denying that strength is important. It is very important. But far more important, it turns out, as those who have been doing research both on other animals and on our own past, is shown to be the propensity that we have towards cooperation and friendship. Friendliness. In short, friendliness turns out to be an evolutionary adaptation which is best for us. Now, this, I hope, won't come as a surprise to those of you who are a part of this community, because if you weren't friendly with one another, I'd be out of a job, and we wouldn't have any reason really to be here. But it's not that way. There are problems with this, and I'll get to those in a minute. But generally speaking, we as human beings are more friendly than we are not. Take the unbelievable and cruel lie that certain politicians are making about the Haitian immigrant community in Springfield, Ohio. To claim the Haitians are eating their pets, as funny as we want to make that, is wrong on many levels. It's wrong, of course, because the Haitians are not eating the pets. But it's a dog whistle, friends, to racism. It raises characterizations of immigrant people, people of color, as animals. But there's another story that we don't hear very often. If you look, you can find it. Because there has been a reaction by the majority of the population in Springfield who is white. They're not only denouncing the lie, they're flocking to support Haitian businesses and restaurants. The churches are welcoming them in. Parents of white kids are being sure to walk the Haitian kids to the bus stop so they'll be unmolested. It's a remarkable example of what's really at play when we treat each other with love. Now, what gets complicated here, and I knew there would be a complication, right? Otherwise, we'd all just get along. What gets complicated here is how we treat people who are not in the in-group. And lest you think that we're immune from this, we're not. All of us have a propensity to divide the world into us and them. And if you look at this as an evolutionary adaptation, which of course it is because it protects the close group, what one anthropologist said was 146 people that you know, and after that, it's another group. The propensity to protect those who are in the group is often much stronger than our ability to be friendly to those who are not like us. And almost all of the collective savagery, the cruelty, the animosity, the racism, the sexism, the classism, the ageism, the ableism, all of those come from this propensity to divide the world between us and them. And of course, we're seeing this now, right? It's enhanced, it's magnified, it's hyper-driven by social media and a media that is no longer concerned so much with reporting the facts as to being channels to particular us's and particular them's. It's not a word, but you get the idea. It's a powerful evolutionary adaptation, and it is not easy to overcome. But I believe, and I believe this very strongly, that friendliness can be our religious value when we learn to truly embrace the first principle. The principle that says that we believe in the inherent dignity of every person. Now, I have had colleagues and I have listened to scholars debate this very idea as something that's a little old-fashioned. That they will point to examples of barbaric treatment by people towards other people. The savagery of the Nazi Holocaust or any of the Holocausts and civil wars that are out there, and I remind you that civil wars are the most bloody of all, makes it hard for us to say someone like a Hitler, to use the most common example, has inherent worth. But the difference is this. If every being has inherent worth, then what is it that makes them savage? What is it that causes them to move towards being evil? And I'm convinced that that move towards being evil, to being savage, is a circumstantial adaptation of their soul. That they have become evil and hateful and savage because of things that were not met in their life, and they were looking for something else. I believe that it is possible to have worth inherently and at the same time to do terrible things. And I think all of us, as Solzhenitsyn once said, know this because the difference between love and hate runs right through the human heart. We can do bad things and still be worthy people, which is one of the reasons that I object to the death penalty, because it says the wrong thing. It's not talking about the worth of the person or the terrible things they've done. We're annihilating the person because of what they've done. One of the most challenging aspects of accepting inherent worth is, of course, the criminal activities that people do, and I'm thinking particularly here, and I know this is a sensitive issue for some, of child abuse. Some time ago, I sat in a television show that was run on local cable. It's a religious hour. I don't know if they do those anymore. And I was the host, and I was talking to a Catholic priest, and we were talking about child abuse. And I remember him sitting up squarely in his chair, and I thought he was going to get defensive about this, but he didn't. He said, "This is an incredible tragedy. And I and all of my brothers and those of my faith are terribly sorry for the children, for their parents, for the church, and for America, which has found one more reason why they shouldn't trust religion." And by the way, that is a reason that is often given. He said that while this abuse is real, like alcoholism before it, and the church tried to keep it secret, he said, we now are trying to help people understand, help our priests understand what this does to people and what this does to them. Psychological testing, sexuality training, these are all now part of the program for ordination of the priesthood. But all of us have dark things in our lives. I know I do. Dark things in our lives that we're not proud of, and yet we still know that in our hearts we are worthy. We long for acceptance, but sometimes we are trapped in what we have done. As John Donne once wrote, the prison of the soul is far darker than any dungeon. And the reason I feel the first principle and its manifestation in friendliness is so important to us is because without it, other people get to judge who's worthy. And who's going to do that? A president? The clergy? Oh no. Who's going to do that? And this is where the story of Tico runs aground. Only by losing her golden feathers does she become acceptable to the flock. But our point, friends, is to welcome the golden feathers, to welcome the pearls, to welcome those who really are different than us. It's not easy. I remember my failings at this through the years. In one of my first churches, I was a young father building a new church, and a transgendered woman came into the church and she said, "I'd like to know whether I would be welcome here. And I looked at her and I thought about it, and I said, no. I said, no, my people would be too uncomfortable. I'm not proud of that. It's probably one of the darkest moments in my ministry that here I was, the preacher of a faith that said everyone was acceptable as they were. Everyone had worth, and I couldn't even find worth in a person who was expressing their true identity. I've spent my entire career since those days trying to change that. The philosopher Martha Nussbaum talks about concentric circles of concern. It's a great ethical model that I try to follow, although it has limits. Obviously, we're more concerned about the people we know that are closer to us, and then the communities we're a part of, and then possibly our state or possibly the country. You get the idea. But the point, she said, is to transcribe those circles, to push yourself out to the outer ones. These structures are not just rational and philosophical, they are, in a sense, the visible machinery of public life. It's aspirational for us as a congregation to stretch these circles of concern through friendliness towards that greater understanding of public emotion. And it's halting and it's messy and we won't get it right. And that's okay. Because we open our doors to those who are different from us, and we will make mistakes. We will say the wrong thing. Just think back to the change of pronouns, right? He, she, them, their. That was hard, right? For all you English majors out there, worried about your pronouns. But we managed, and we'll manage much more than that with time. And that's what this election is actually calling us to, I believe. It's really soul-searching now. What kind of people are we to become? We lift people who are differently abled or differently gendered or differently seen even into our own circle, and therefore we extend this value and we survive, indeed we thrive because of friendliness. We do matter. We do belong. We are each other's friends, and we are friends to people we have not even met yet. I'll close with a little bit of biblical exegesis. There's a phrase, it took some time to understand, biblical exegesis, like hermeneutics. The greatest irony of the story of Adam and Eve is that they were condemned by their Creator, who supposedly, according to the story, made them in love. And you know the whole thing about the eating of the apple. You know, there were 2 trees in the garden, by the way. The one was immortality. They didn't eat that apple. They didn't want to live forever. They wanted to know the difference between good and wrong, between good and evil. They wanted to have self-determination. They wanted to understand their own moral dimension. And for this, they were thrown out of the garden, right? Thrown out of the garden. And God said, in work shall you till the ground, thorns and thistles it shall bring forth, and you shall eat the plants of the field, and the woman shall in pain bring forth children. That's cheery. And then God puts a big angel there with a flaming sword so they can't get back into the garden. But here's the thing, friends. Our free will is what makes us human and mortal in the first place. It's truly who we are. And yes, it's a challenge. But to bring forth life is not just in birth. To bring forth life is to extend the circle of concern beyond where we are now. If it was all given to you, if this were the paradise that we possibly dream of, then what's the point? You know, you have to have an antagonist for the protagonist to have some part in the story if we want to overcome adversity and create something from the thorns and the thistles. Then we have to do something differently with our lives. Rabbi Harold Kushner observes that we didn't get so much thrown out of paradise, we outgrew paradise. A wonderful idea. What if what we were doing here is finding something greater than ourselves and enhancing and holding up the value of others? We matter because we have to find a way out of this mess, and we have to find a way out that doesn't destroy other people in the process. Our ability to create something new in communities like this one is our salvation. There's another word, not often heard from Unitarian Universalist pulpits, but salvation nonetheless, because that is how we will find love. That is how we will make this happen in this world. And we will not finish it in this lifetime or our children's children's lifetime. It's an aspiration, not a destination. Just as Tico found her way back to the flock after remarkable generosity, I believe we will find a way back no matter what happens in this election. Indeed, our resilience in surviving this anxiety is to remember that we all have worth, and those who are different from us, including those who have vastly different political ideas, they are also worthy. The default is something more than just survival. It's living. It's living as an achievement. Everyone can survive and everyone can live if we learn to embrace this friendliness as a value. Last Sunday, Francis and I were in the garden in the back of the parsonage. I don't remember what. I just come home and here's what we're doing. Anyway, these two women are walking up the driveway to our neighbor's house. And I said, hello. And I realized that they were canvassing. And I didn't know who they were canvassing for. But I was a little worried about them knocking on that door. So I said, come on back in the garden and let's talk. And we started talking, and it was clear that they, because it was all over their bodies, that they're supporting Harris. They were relieved to hear that we supported Harris. In fact, they were relieved to hear that it's a church that generally supports Harris. And then we got into this fascinating conversation about what they had learned in door-to-door canvassing. Anybody been canvassing here recently? Anybody? Yeah, a few people have. Yeah, thank you. They said that with the exception of one or two people, everyone had been at least civil, or they didn't answer the door. That's always an option too, right? Don't answer the door. But those who did might have been annoyed that you knocked on their door. And then they said it gave us hope in humanity again to knock on doors. To realize that regardless of these hyperinflated political ideas that are out there, these terrible memes that are being portrayed about people of color or anybody who's different than the majority are actually not what most people really hold in their hearts. Oh, they can get lost in that, to be sure, particularly in a mob, right? The us versus them. They can get lost in that. But what they are discovering, what they discovered, is that most people are pretty civil with one another at the end of the day. My friends, hope lies in friendliness. Hope lies in a plan to accept others who are different than we are. Hope lies in the power of this community, like so many communities that are meeting at this very hour. Hope lies in how we treat those who come to us, who may be different, but are looking for safe harbor. There is more love out there. There is much more love out there than we can see. There is light in the darkness, and that is where we need to be going. So may it be, and amen. Our closing hymn is number 346. Come sing a song with me. Please rise in body or spirit. My benediction from John Murray: go out into the highways and the byways and give the people something of your vision. You may possess a small light, but uncover it and let it shine. Use it in order to bring more light and understanding to the hearers and minds of women and men, and give them not hell but hope and courage, and preach the kindness and everlasting love of God. So may it be, and now the service truly begins. Please remain seated for the postlude.